AEW starts off with Chris Jericho making his return. Chris Jericho has been on TV for a very long time. He's been on TV for a couple of months. I don't even know how many months it's been, but it's been a very long time since you've seen Chris Jericho. He just comes out in his hometown. Didn't say many words. All he said was that he's back, and that was really it. He didn't really cut a promo. He just stood in the crowd, let the fans cherish him, let the fans cheer him, and that was really it. So we don't know what Chris Jericho plans are. We don't know how much longer he's going to be in AEW. If he has a longer contract. I never really bought into him going to WWE stuff, because for me, whenever I see news like that, I just wait to see how it plays out and then, be surprised by it, if, or not, because I don't like getting my hopes up for just to be disappointed. But he's still in AEW, which is good to see. I don't know what you can really do with Chris Jericho at this point, especially in AEW. I just don't know where he fits personally, because I love Chris Jericho. I think he's one of the most underrated superstars of all time. I just don't know where he fits in currently in AEW, because for me personally, as much as I love him, I really don't want him in any title scenes at all. Like, I don't want him facing for any championships. If he is going to face for a title, maybe the TNT title or the national championship, but that's really it. And I don't know. And the only titles I would really want him to ever go after is maybe tag team gold. That's really it. Maybe he could do something with some younger talent, but his history with younger talent isn't the greatest in AEW, so I don't know if that's the play. I really don't know what you do with Chris Jericho. I would like Chris Jericho is one of the best at reinventing himself, so I'm pretty sure that whatever's next for him, he could do some pretty good stuff with a new character. Now, his last stuff with the Learning Tree, I wasn't a fan of. I'm glad that they didn't really finish that story with Brian Keith and Big Bill and all that, because there's no need to finish that. But I'm curious to see what Chris Jericho does, because I love Chris Jericho. I think he's very underrated, very underappreciated in terms of all-time wrestling talks, but we'll see what's next for him. But again, I just don't know where he fits in the current landscape of AEW, but they will, of course, find something to do. He probably would make it on a Dynasty card. It wouldn't shock me, but curious to see what's next for Chris Jericho, but I'm happy for him just to be back in general. Afterwards, we end up getting a Kenny Omega and MJF contract signing for the AEW World Championship match that is going to be happening at Dynasty. This was a solid, decent contract signing. Nothing major really happened here, but starts off with Kenny. He basically talks about the delusion of Kenny Omega, the arrogance that that MJF has, and ends up basically mentioning how he wants to take the title away from MJF because he's not worthy, not deserving of that title, and that how badly he needs to win that title to become AEW World Champion. Then we end up getting MJF. MJF ends up mentioning Kenny Omega's oh my God, I cannot say the thing. Diverticulitis. He's mentioning, the thing that Kenny Omega has been dealing with. Mentions that basically that he's a ticking time bomb, that he doesn't have much time left, and that's the main reason why he wants to win the AEW World Championship, because he knows his time is coming to an end. He won't have much time in the wrestling ring. And then he basically ends up saying that whenever he beats Kenny at Dynasty, that all of his fans, is going to realize that the god of professional wrestling is a false idol that is better off dead. Trying to anger Kenny Omega, Kenny gets in MJF's face. MJF is trying to have Kenny hit him, because I think there is a clause in the contract that if he does hit him, then the match doesn't happen. Tries to get him to hit him, but then Speedball Mike Bailey comes out, prevents it from happening, defends Kenny Omega, and then he wants a match later in the show, which does eventually happen in the main event with MJF facing Speedball. MJF, of course, wins the match, leading to after the match, MJF attacks Speedball. Kenny was on commentary. Then Kenny ends up getting in the ring, preventing from any more of the beatdown to continue from MJF, and MJF runs away. This was a fine segment overall. It was cool for what it was. Don't know how I feel about Speedball, really. They've been trying to do this thing with Speedball, Kenny Omega. They've been pushing Speedball a lot recently. I'm not the biggest fan of Speedball because I just don't find him entertaining. He's good in the ring. He's great in the ring. But character-wise, I just find him very boring. Maybe I'm tripping, or maybe he just doesn't connect with me. I just can't connect with Speedball personally. He's just too boring and bland of a babyface for me personally. That's just me, but he's great in the ring. But the match at Dynasty should be great. I don't think Kenny Omega is winning, nor should be winning. MJF should be continuing to hold this title, because MJF is one of the most entertaining things in AEW. He's one of the main reasons why I'm mainly watching AEW, to be honest with you. I do like what they're doing with MJF's title reign, with all of these people coming after him, like Swerve, Kenny, Hangman before, you know, he lost at Revolution. You got Darby now. So I like what they're doing with MJF and all of these challengers going after him. Very interested to see what they do with Kenny afterwards. Are they going to continue to have Kenny go after the AEW World Championship, or are they just going to have him like go get ridden off TV for a bit and then eventually come back afterwards? But no, or they could go back and suck around the thing he has with Swerve. They could easily go back to that, have Kenny and Swerve go back and start feuding again. They could easily circle back to that because Kenny did beat Swerve to become #1 contender, so Swerve could potentially, you know, try to get his revenge on Kenny Omega. We could do that as well, but MJF should be retaining at Dynasty, but it should be a banger match nonetheless. We do end up getting a Cope and Christian segment where they're looking for FTR. They go into FTR's dressing room, but they couldn't find him. I think Trent Beretta and Rocky Romero was in the locker room. They ended up attacking him instead. There was nothing much to really take from this segment, really, but I just really wanted to talk about the upcoming tag team match at Dynasty between them and FTR, where I do think Cope and Christian will win those tag team titles finally after so long, because this feud, I just don't care for it, mainly because they took so long to really deliver on it. I understand, look, they took 8 months. They took like an 8 to 9 month break, but that is just ridiculous to continue with this feud. I understand it that they needed to get their revenge, but why this long though? Do we even know the real reason why they took this long of a break? Because I really don't know why they took this long of a break. I don't know, but that is kind of crazy that they went back and continued the storyline, but it is what it is. They're trying to get their revenge. It makes sense for them to win, but 8 to 9 months to take a break from it, from a feud that is just not really hitting, mainly because they took so long of a break from the feud to only continue it, similar to how WWE did with Becky Lynch and AJ Lee, but nonetheless. So the match should be great. I just not really feeling this feud because, again, you took 8 months off just to continue it. But I'm assuming after Cope and Christian win, they're probably going to run Young Bucks and Cope and Christian eventually, because they've been teasing that as well. So we'll see how eventually that plays out. But I did like the segment with them and Renee, where Cope was saying that they're gonna go after anybody that stands in their way, and Christian immediately pick up a chair and immediately was about to hit Renee because she was technically in their way, which I thought was funny. So I thought that was a little funny, but nonetheless, we'll see how this match plays out at Dynasty. Not the most excited about it from a story perspective, but the match should be great. We end up getting Pac versus Will Ospreay in a singles match, giving Will Ospreay a match before he faces Jon Moxley at Dynasty. Earlier in the show, Will Ospreay attacked Jon Moxley earlier in the show. Security had to break them apart, which I did like. This was a really good match. Throughout the match, you end up getting Pac. He ends up constantly attacking the neck of Will Ospreay. Of course, that's the injured neck that Jon Moxley ended up injuring him before, sending Ospreay home on a break. That's why Ospreay, was gone for so long, kayfabe-wise. So this was a great match. Will Ospreay does pick up the victory. After the match, though, Death Riders attack. They end up getting the upper hand on Will Ospreay, and then they end up putting his neck through a chair, acting as if they was going to break his neck again, but Jon Moxley ends up preventing that from happening. And then Jon Moxley does get on the microphone, and he basically ends up saying that this isn't personal for him, and that don't make it personal, which I find weird, because it is already personal. You're the reason that he was injured for so long, but I guess he meant personal to him, but even still. But then he ends up saying that it's 6 of us. What did you think was going to what did you think was going to happen? Like, we was obviously going to jump you, and that's really it. So nothing more to really take from this. I don't hate this feud at all. I do like the feud. They're slowly building this, even though Dynasty is like a week and a half away. But nonetheless, I have been liking what they've been doing with Will Ospreay and Jon Moxley. I have been liking it. I hope we get an actual promo segment between the two, because that's one thing we haven't got yet. We haven't got an actual promo segment. I hope we do get that. Also, I don't know if it's for the Continental Championship. I hope it's not, because I'm assuming that Will Ospreay will be world champion by All In. I'm assuming him going to go through the Owen and eventually challenge MJF at All In. I'm assuming that's the route they're going, but I could be wrong. But I hope it's not for the Continental Championship, because I feel like Will Ospreay is above that championship. I feel like he should be going after the AEW World Championship after this Moxley feud. And plus, I think this is probably going to be a multi-match thing. I don't think it's just going to be a one-time match. So we'll see eventually how this all unfolds. I have been enjoying the feud overall, but I hope next week we get an actual promo segment between the two face-to-face, and then it could eventually lead to a brawl. But nonetheless, the match at Dynasty should be amazing. finally, we end up getting Darby Allin. We get Darby Allin. He cuts a very short promo. Basically, ends up saying that he wants MJF. He going after the AEW World Championship, and he wants MJF to come out. MJF, of course, doesn't come out. Don Callis' family comes out instead. MJF paid off Don Callis to help prevent Darby Allin from getting close to the AEW World Championship. And Don Callis basically ends up saying that if he could beat one of the members of the Don Callis family that he handpicks at Dynasty, then he could get a shot at MJF for the world title. And it ends up being Andrade, who did not like that because Andrade has aspirations to be a world champion. And Don Callis' family, for the the main members of the Don Callis family, like Kyle Fletcher and them, don't really like MJF. So it makes sense for Andrade not to really like, being in this match, but he's going to be in the match at Dynasty, which I'm going to enjoy because Andrade and Darby Allin should be a mega match. And I like what they're doing with Darby Allin, finally putting him in the world title scene after not being in it for so long. So I'm very interested to see how this plays out. I wouldn't be shocked if he's the one that dethrones MJF at All In because I still feel like the original plan was for Darby to take out Jon Moxley at All In, but due to him having to climb Mount Everest, due to him wanting to do that, they had to change plans. So I wouldn't be shocked if they wanted to retcon it and have him beat MJF. I don't think that's happening. I think that's going to be with Ospreay, but it wouldn't surprise me. I like the idea of Darby being in the world title scene. I think it's long overdue. I think he should have been in the world title scene, but we'll see eventually how this plays out. I hope they eventually could build him up to be in the world title scene because what they've been doing with Darby recently, I am not enjoying it. I'm not messing with it at all. I don't like the Gabe Kidd stuff they've been doing. He feuded with the Death Riders for far too long. So I hope they could do some interesting stuff with Darby to really gain my interest again. Because I like Darby, but the stuff they've been doing with him for the past year or so just hasn't been working for me personally. So we'll see eventually how this all unfolds. Overall show, I thought it was a decent show. It wasn't a great show, it wasn't a bad show, but it was a decent show. I haven't really been doing many AEW reviews like I used to just because my interest in AEW is really at an all-time low. It's better than what it was in 2025 so far, but even in 2026, it hasn't really gained much of my interest. It has been getting better as of recently, so I do hope they continue a great trajectory, but it hasn't been good enough for me to want to review it. But overall show, I thought tonight's show was good. Dynasty is looking like an amazing card. So you guys let me know your overall thoughts, opinions down below. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Make sure to hit the notification bell so don't miss any of my content. But yeah, that's it.